Okay, so let me minimize that, and we have the index, we have the connect. So now let's come back to this. So we have the index right now, we know that this is that question number. Now we also want to know what is the length. So now we have that as well, so I can just say dollar sign and I can say questions dot length. Yeah. Okay, so one thing which is interesting, that the text style and the font which is provided, sorry, so the font is like nothing else, but I have provided it some kind of very simple style actually, increasing the font weight. So I think the font size was around 24, and font weight was around 500. Not like that, font weight dot 500. Anything else? I think that's it. Okay, then we have this row. So after this text is done, we will have another text that will be just saying this is questions, questions. Okay, anyways, I'm just going with question. And in the text style, I'll say I didn't notice anything very. I can just make it something like 15, maybe 17 is fine. We'll see. Okay, these are the values we can play with, so not a very big problem. So we'll say font weight. I'll make sure that the font weight of this one is a bit lesser than that, right? So yeah, it's done. Now very important thing, I can just copy this, paste this again, and we have this point. So I can get rid of all the things. I can say points, and over here I can say points. Makes sense? Yeah. But right now, what is the thing is, we have this vertical arrangement. Inside the vertical arrangement, we have this horizontal arrangement of values, and we did this wrong. Correct. We have to cut this, and we should have this over here. Okay, so now you can see that we have this horizontal arrangement of different widget, text. Now what we want, we want a space between these, right? So what I will do for that, I will use a spacer. There are different ways to do this. You can use a spacer. You can use main axis alignment property, which is main axis alignment dot space between. So you can do any way you want. This is good enough. Okay, so now we have this. Next we need this text. So this is the row. After the row, I want the text. So I'll say text. Inside the text, I'll say, okay, we don't have to say anything. We just have to say question. Oh, okay, question dot. We have to provide the index, not like that. As I said, if we want to use more than that, we will just basically use these curly braces. We will say questions dot, not dot. We will use index. Then I will use the getter method. So what I want the question. Good enough. Now I want to go to the styles. I want to provide a bit more stylish. So how is it going to look stylish? So we will be providing it some font weight, which is going to be quite more than that. I believe it was around 600. I'm not sure. We will play with this numbers, as I said. Font size, I think 18 will be good enough. We will see if that is more. Okay, so we have the text. Now this is an animation. So now let me, if you haven't watched my video of spin the bottle, which is, let me show you. Okay, YouTube. Anyways, you can just basically visit my channel. I don't want to bore you with that. Just visit my channel. There is a video of spin the bottle. I hopefully have the code most of the chance. Okay, where is that? Spin the bottle. So in spin the bottle, I explained each and everything about different animations of we use the rotation animation. So you can go through that, but I think let's clear that up in this one as well. So how that basically works is, we will be using an animation in this. So what is animation and how it is going to work? So as a beginner, what you can understand about animation is, for animation we firstly use a ticker. What is a ticker? Ticker is something which is basically kind of keeping a record and like working in the background, right? So we use a ticker for that. For any animation we want, we use a tween. So for the basics, you can just go and watch that video. I don't want to bore you again with the same concepts, so just go and watch that video and understand about the animation. So let me just apply those, and hopefully you can get it what I'm doing. So with single, sorry, I think single ticker, provide the state and mixin, and then we will have animation. I will say animation, then we will say animation controller. I'll say animation controller. Okay, so we have these now. We have the animation, we have the animation controller as well. So animation controller is basically used to provide the delayed amount of time, and how this whole animation is going to work, let me explain that. So this is actually a linear, what do we call it, I'm forgetting the name, just give me a second. So that was, what is it called, linear progress indicator. Oh my, okay, yeah. So this is basically a linear progress indicator, and let me use it. Where do we want to use it? We want to use it below the text, so I'm just gonna let me give it some space as well, so that it doesn't look kind of very collapsed kind of stuff. So then I will say linear progress indicator. This takes value. Okay, so now for the value, let me explain how the animation is going to work. Initially we want this value to be 0, right, over here. Then we want this value to be 1, which is over here, and we want this whole linear progress indicator to animate from this to this in a particular period of time. So let's do it how we will do it. Okay, so now the time is to define the animation controller. We will say animation controller is equals to animation controller. As I said, it will take two properties. The first is to define the duration from this point to this point, which you can say, in other words, the time given to the user to answer that question, right? So first of all, let's provide the duration. It will be constant. It will be duration seconds. Let's go with 50, and then it takes vsync, and that will be this. Yeah. Okay, so the animation controller is defined now. Because animation is null right now, we want to provide that as well. So animation will be Tween. So what is Tween? For more info, I will recommend to watch this that spin the wheel video. But basically it's like the simplest animation. You provide the begin and end value, and it will run the animation accordingly. So let me provide the begin and end value. So I'll say double begin anim is equals to 0.0. We want this animation to start from 0.0, and we will say end anim 1.0. We want this to end at 1.0. So I'll say begin is begin animation, and I'll say end is end animation. Okay, so tween double can be assigned to a variable of type animation. Okay, of course this tween cannot be assigned, so we'll say dot animate, and then we will provide the animation controller. One error is that. Okay, so the for value we will say animation dot value. If you're anything unclear about animation, please do watch that. Hopefully you will get clear all about it. And yeah, so we have provided that animation is done. Now the next thing is this image. So the thing which I did with this image is, even if you are using this offline, it will be cached when you used for the first time. For that, what we will do, we will use this plugin called cached network image. You just have to, you can just type it out, cached network image pub.dev, like just type it out. It will be the first link, and copy that, go to project pubspec.yaml, and over there we will have Flutter. Oops. And packages, package.get visible, hopefully. Yeah, I think that's done. Running 0 0 0 0 0 0. Okay, exit code 0. So that's done. Yeah, so we can now basically use that cached. Oh my god, what is that? Just go to the readme. I'm not good at spelling, right? Yeah, cached image network. So we will have to provide the image URL. Of course it will not be, because we have to first import this. Now it will work happily. So we'll say questions dot, nope, dot index dot get image URL. Anything else? No, we don't want any placeholders and stuff. That seems to be it. Okay, so we have the cached image, network image as well. Now I'll use something called a spacer, basically providing as much space as it wants, so that this is at the bottom. Then we will go row. Why? We want a horizontal arrangement of widgets, so we'll use row. And so to understand these widgets, this is basically a containers. So I'm just going to say container. One thing which I did was surrounding these containers with an expanded, so that they are taking the whole space. Even if the screen increases, they will take more space. The way how I arrange this space is basically by giving it a symmetrical padding, sorry, margin, and the padding is how we get that. Oh, okay, so let's say this is true. We need to provide a decoration, as you may already understand, because we need that border radius dot circular 24, I hope. Yeah, then we need the color. So for true, I'm using the color dot blue, and yeah, that's what it is. Let me wrap it up in a widget which is expanded. Okay, yeah, so basically it tries to cover as much space as it can, like humans provide us world and we'll expand us. Anything. Anyway, so now enough of programming dum. Now let's have it run it on a real device. So I will open up the iOS simulator, and give it a second and just run it. Okay, so it will take a second or two maybe. Anyways, in the meantime, we can work on these. So we have these expanded. We want a bit of spacing as well, right? So for that, as I said, we will be using let's just use sized box. If you want, we can go for padding or margin as well, but I think sized box can work. So I'll save it, just 20, and saved, running explode build. Okay, so we have these. In this one, I want that to be false and that to be red. Anything else? Yep, we want some padding. We will say edge insets dot symmetrical. So I'll say vertical padding would be around 12 and horizontal padding would be around, how much is it? Not sure. So I'm just not going to give it horizontal because it's gonna cover as much as can. Where are you? Great. So yeah, this is the first thing. This is our first container. So we have to provide it some padding. So I am the home. We will say edge insets dot symmetric. Vertically, I will provide it something like 12, and horizontally around 54, I expect. Yeah, looks good. Now if I click on that, the method plus one was called on null. What are we adding? Where is plus one? Okay, plus one. Oh. Okay, so it's saying that plus one was called on null. Well, index is null. Okay, go to run, restart. Oh, it's loading. Okay, so now we need to update this. This is not, animation is not running. Of course, we haven't started it yet. So let's work on these first of all. So they will require us a bit of, we have provided this one padding. So I'm just going to copy that, paste it, and the next thing which we want these to be in the center. So I'll say alignment center. So alignment dot center and save. Okay, now we want the color to be text. Okay, not there. We want this to provide it stylish. Okay, we will say color to be colors dot white. Save, and bit of font size as well. I don't know. It seems like it's quite small. Yeah, font size And what more? Well, one thing which we can do more is font weight if we want. It's not very mandatory kind of, I'm thinking, but I think it looks better. Okay, anyways, now we have all this style, just copy and paste. Good. Now we need some kind of padding at the side for this, not maybe for image. By the way, this kid looks cute like all others. Anyways, we can go for container and we will say padding edge insets dot symmetrical. I'll say horizontal. How much should we go for? 20, 30? Okay, 30 looks good. Copy. We want to provide this to our first where are you? This one. Wrap it in a container, provide the padding. Below the container, provide a sized box. I'll say height of around 20. Not enough. Okay, good enough. Yeah, so we are quite close to what we wanted. And just some things, for example, we need some space in these, so I'll say sized box. Width, how much? Maybe 10, 12, something like that. Okay, copy that. Paste that, paste. Then now we want this to be, like, it's in the center, we want that to be below. So I'll say row. I'm giving you an arm. What is that? In the main axis alignment, I want the things to be arranged. It's not main for row, it's cross. So I'll say cross axis alignment dot. It's gonna be start. It's gonna be end. Save. I think that's too much. 8 will be enough. Okay, looks good. Anything else? Okay, what do we want? It looks good. We need the question mark, by the way, so I'm going to provide that. Okay, now, okay, so these things are done. Sometime if I do get like kind of slow and all, please do share your feedback. Am I fast, slow? That will really help me to get better. Okay, so baby has more bones. That so now what we want to make these clickable. It's not working. So what we will do, we will go inside expanded and provide it inside. No, we will go inside the container, we will provide it inside widget of gesture detector, and inside that we will say on tap. Okay, so what do we want? So basically we want that if we click on true and the answer of this is true, then we make sure that the points is increased. We move to the next question and this starts from beginning. So let me work on the this particular, what do we call it, linear progress something. Yeah, progress indicator. Okay, so let's define some functions for it. So what will be the functions? The first function will be to start this. So let's say it start animation. Okay, just like that. And in that, what I will say animation controller dot forward. And we are missing one thing. We have to, add the listener for this. Add listener, and it is going to be set state. Okay, so this is basically going to set the state every particular second. So this is start. Of course, we should, let me do one thing quick. Yeah, so we also need to start the animation as soon as our app started, because we are showing the first question. We want to make sure that it starts. After that, we have we also need reset, because whenever the next question arises, we want to reset it to 0. So let's name this function reset animation, and this will basically reset. So animation controller dot reset. Okay, now we also want to stop it. So for that we will say stop animation and we'll say animation controller dot stop. Okay, so Let's see if it works. Quiz now. Okay, so you can see it's working. Okay, the next thing which we also want to make sure that it is starting, it is resetting, stopping. But when this completes, for example, right now, okay, the question must be updated. So for that, what we can do, we have a listener property. We can basically provide that to add status listener, and in that we will say animation status, and I'll say status. Is this how we define? Not sure. Correct. Okay, so we will basically add the status listener, and we will say if status, which is this, equals to animation status dot is completed. Okay, so basically when the animation completes, what we want to update the index plus plus, and you can do it like that. And what we want to, yeah, just updating the index will work because it will update the image, it will update the question and the answers as well. So let me give that a try. Also, just to make sure we are not wasting a lot of time in testing, I will keep it 5 for now. We will update that later. So restart the app, start quiz now. Waiting for it to be completed. Yeah, it's changing. Good. Okay, so it will be changing after this. No, why not? Okay, so the it changed one for once, but it doesn't changed for second time. So also what we want to do over here is we will reset animation, and we will start animation. Start it again. Start quiz now. It's working. Done. Now this should update. Correct. So it's working perfectly fine now. We can now we will work on these buttons.